The Magical Chocolate Factory is deeply rooted in a lot of lives. Whether it's the Roald Dahl book, or the Gene Wilder adaptation, or Depp's version, we have all gotten a piece of this magical chocolate. While each of the three films are their own unique piece, I want to bring them together and study what makes a Wonka film. There is no denying that Gene Wilder's 1971 Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is the most influential. It displayed the themes in the book with its own little spin. Its musical approach, though different from the book, is well received, with songs like Pure Imagination, The Candyman, and Cheer Up Charlie being standouts. Each song is delivered by the cast brilliantly. They help progress the story for each one of these characters taking the trip through Wonka's chocolate factory. The set design is perfectly whimsical and mysterious, and all these years later, everything about the factory feels fantastical. And Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka is a big factor in that. Wilder's Wonka is very charismatic, and though a little awkward, it's never a hindrance to his performance. Everything he does is grand. The opening gates are grand, with hundreds of people from different backgrounds just dying to get a glimpse of the famous chocolatier. But from that beginning moment, we never know if he's telling the truth. Just outside the factory, we see him limping into a somersault. Throughout the movie after that, we don't know if he finds the tragedies as funny or somber, but either way, we can never fully tell what Wilder's Wonka is thinking. Sometimes we even wonder if he knows what he's thinking. Does he know which way he's going? Does he know the scale of how bad the things happening to the kids is? All of this just adds to his mystery. No one will ever really know Wilder's Wonka, except us. Timothée Chalamet's Wonka is a prequel to the 71 film. It paints this picture that Wonka is just a candy-loving townsperson set on living a dream. He's never malicious, nor has any ulterior motive. He's always kind to those he meets and is naive in the ways of the world, being raised on a boat with his mom and all. Wonka falls into debt to Miss Scrubbit and Bleacher and sneaks out of the building to make a chocolate shop and pay her back. The problem is he is held back by the chocolate cartel made of Prodnose, Fickelgruber, and Slugworth. He overcomes this problem and learns that the best part of chocolate is the people you share it with. Wonka has a few issues, and while yes, Timothée Chalamet has a face that is so punchable and annoying, it makes me want to find the closest fizzy lifting drink and float away forever. He's not really my biggest complaint. This movie, if looked at as a prequel, strips Wilder's Wonka of his umph. Without a prequel, Wonka comes across as an eccentric loon that is determined to find a non-rotten kid for an heir. He's willing to test these kids over and over again, even if it means they are permanently harmed. Wilder's Wonka is no longer malicious or mysterious with this prequel. He becomes a sweetheart that only cares for others, only wants to share, and only wants what's best for others. Timothy's Wonka personality clashes with Wilder's Wonka personality, which is where 2023's Wonka went wonky. But if backstory is what stripped the mystery away from Wonka, why is Johnny Depp's Wonka so good? Now I know Gene Wilder's is the best Wonka, and no one asked for Johnny Depp's Wonka, and I don't like Tim Burton's style, but I don't care. Each actor and director had different visions for their movie, and I see that, but Tim and Johnny's is my favorite. And we'll get into reasons in a bit, but for now I just want to focus on Johnny's Wonka, or Jonka, if you may. Jonka is always mysterious. The things we learn from Grandpa Joe sound like public knowledge that could have been skewed either way. And even though Grandpa Joe worked there, his story makes him seem out of touch with the chocolatier. As if even though he met him, he never knew him. No one did. Thus, his mysterious facade stays intact. We get little glimpses of Jonka's upbringing, but it's almost never stated directly to the rest of the group. And what we see is dramatized, with the flags waving only being projections of how he saw the museum, and his father's house being completely removed. We may see his backstory, but we never experienced it per se. Thus, his mysterious facade still stays intact. The world perceives Jonka as silly and magnificent, making chocolate birds and Whipple Scrumptious Fudge Mala Delight bars they're all part of his brand. He opens his factory with an epic voice and a silly song, but like that song, we meet him and everything burns. Jonka isn't magnificent. He's actually kind of weird. Jonka isn't fun, he's kind of creepy and extremely out of touch with the rest of the world. I will say Jonka is quite silly, though it's in his own way. No one seems to laugh at Jonka's jokes, except Charlie. Jonka is so out of touch with the world and family and kids, and that he meets them and just scowls. And he hates parents so much he refuses a good heir simply because they prefer family over chocolate. Of course, Jonka learned that family isn't important, and usually they're just trying to protect you because they love you. I think Tim Burton's Wonka sticks the closest to the themes. Partaking in the 7 deadly sins has its consequences, and whether it's gluttony, pride, greed, or slothfulness, those natural consequences will catch up to you. For example, Augustus Gloop couldn't control his hunger and eventually fell into his chocolate and nearly drowned. Another theme, parents have a great influence over the kids, and it's what they do with that influence that really matters. For example, Mr. Salt gives Veruca whatever she asks for until it comes time for the squirrels, in which case, she disobeys him and nearly gets incinerated. Compare them to the buckets where Charlie is given little and told to be grateful for everything he gets, and in return, Charlie is grateful for his factory gift from Jonka. The final theme worth mentioning is to never worship celebrities. This one might be a bit of a stretch, but Willy Wonka isn't someone worth idolizing. He's inconsiderate, rude, and generally not a great person. Constantly poking fun at others, it's not until he meets Charlie that he is humbled and brought back to the ground. It does make sense that Charlie and the Chocolate Factory sticks closest to his themes, because it's a closer adaptation to the book it's based on. Roald Dahl famously disdains the 71 version, and though we'll never hear his thoughts on the newer adaptations of his book, I feel that he'd like Tim Burton's at least a little bit more than Gene Wilder's. As for Timothy's, there really is no saying. I personally thought the movie is alright as a standalone film. I liked the Chocolate Cartel as an antagonist for Wonka. I even got a little emotional at the end when Wonka saw his mom in the crowd, but overall, meh. The songs were alright, and though I strongly disliked Timothée Chalamet for different reasons, his acting was fine. The other characters were there, except Hugh Grant. His version of the Oompa Loompa was pretty funny. And I also like how everything came full circle, with the characters from Miss Scrubbett's basement getting their time to shine, and the draft that they milked, all the way to the last jar ode to the Oompa Loompas. It wasn't a terrible film by any means, it was just alright, which is what I expected, so I guess I wasn't disappointed in the end. I'm not, however, disappointed in this little franchise. It has lots of great things going for it, and my favorite original score of the 3 films goes to Tim Burton's. My favorite for original songs goes to Gene Wilder's. My favorite for cinematography goes to 2023's Wonka. Most shots are beautifully cinematic, it's hard not to stare in awe. My favorite Willy Wonka is Johnny Depp's, though Gene's is a very close second for different reasons. My favorite portrayal of the kids goes to Tim Burton's. They're all over the top, but still believable. Set design, CGI, and costume design also go to Burton. I've always loved Wonka's eccentric modern factory and tailored suit. It's hard to compare the different films, though. Are you wanting a creepier adaptation of the book? Watch Tim Burton's film. Are you wanting a timeless classic that still holds up today in every aspect? Watch Gene Wilder's Willy Wonka. Are you wanting an original film with excellent musical numbers and perfect 10 out of 10 acting? Watch La La Land. Are you wanting fawn over Timothée Chalamet for 2 hours? Watch Dune. Point is, each Willy Wonka has a different vibe. They all have different pluses and minuses, and there really is no better or best. It just depends on your style. And that pretty much sums up my thoughts on the Wonka movies. If you enjoyed today's video, I ask you drop a like and share with your fellow movie lovers. And if you haven't seen the movies, go watch it and see what you think. Your own opinion will always be more important than mine. Next week's video is going to be on I.S.S, so subscribe so you don't miss out on that.